Hello, Dr. Fredericks and fellow classmates. I'll be talking about the importance of cultural humility, cultural awareness, advocacy, and social justice in the counseling profession. I do think those are important because as counselors, we need to be aware of any biases that we may have towards a particular group of people, and vice versa. So that's cultural awareness. And also for cultural humility, we want to go into the counseling session just humble and not thinking that we're better than the client or maybe people from a certain background. We not think we're better than them. And with advocacy and social justice, we definitely want to make sure that we're speaking on behalf of our clients because the truth is some of them can't even advocate for themselves, and that's where we step in as counselors. Um, a scripture that speaks to this, it was actually easy for me to find a scripture about this because back in June and in the summertime when there was a lot of atrocities happening to people of color, the scripture that the Lord gave me was Amos chapter 5 verse 24. And the Amplified says, but let justice run down like water and righteousness like an ever-flowing stream, flowing abundantly. So I'm just reminded of some fellow African Americans who lost their lives to injustice, really, the lack of social justice in this country. I'm reminded of Breonna Taylor, Ahmaud Arbery, and the big one was George Floyd that really struck the riots and the uproar and unrest in this great country that we call America. And even listening to the podcast today with Dr. Sidney, he was talking about his first encounter going to Alaska and going to counsel people, the natives, and his supervisor told him, don't don't think the people are just going to look at you and say, well, he's just like the rest of them that's coming trying to help us. So here this young, eager, excited clinician is thinking he's going to make a difference, but in actuality he had to realize, wait, this is a routine for the people. So I really like how cultural humility plays a role. Cultural awareness plays a big role in this. That was just a perfect example to me. And what I'm going to do to remain culturally humble is when I'm with my clients, I'm not going to come in there with biases or prejudices against, maybe not necessarily a gender or people of certain ethnicities, but it can be biases towards people that may be single but have kids, things that may not line up with the moral beliefs that I grew up with. So I'm going to make sure to be conscious of that and to advocate for my clients. I foresee that a majority of my clientele would be people of color because I noticed there's a lack of people that look like me doing the counseling, and I know that's important. You want to be able to relate to your clients. Your clients want to look at you as the counselor and say, yes, this person could at least relate to me to some degree. So I want to speak up about the injustices happening, and I already began. This year was actually, I went to my first protest, so I want to keep not just going to protest, but I also want to draw awareness to the injustices that are happening, and not just necessarily in the world, but also in the workplace, in the medical field. It's just so many different sectors where there is social injustice, and I want to help bring those to the light and just have conversations around those to see how we as people, as human beings, as children of God, how we can come together and just bridge those gaps and those differences. So that's all. Thank you for listening.